Welcome into UGA Football Live with JC Shelton, where the dogs come to talk. Welcome in, everybody. UGA Football Live with JC Shelton and former Georgia tight end Arthur Lynch. He's not in a closet today, actually. It looks like he's in the corner of a mall beside the PF Chang's, maybe, what have you. Artie, it's good to have you on, brother.
Yeah, well, happy to be here as always. I think this is like some sort of like a classroom or library, but unfortunately, I got to go to class now. There's no football to keep me occupied, so it's hitting the books on a day in day out basis. Believe it or not.
Yep. Studious fellow. Georgia and Tennessee Tech on Saturday. We're going to get into that, get into some national college football today as well. We're going to share our picks. We actually have a spread for the game. Finally, the sports came around to that one. It's going to be a big one. We also have a special guest, play with Artie, played with a few of your favorite Georgia Bulldogs as well. We'll bring him on in just a second. But Artie and I wanted to make sure we gave a moment to, share our thoughts and prayers with the people of Barrow County and Appalachia High School for the really senseless tragedy this week. Artie and I were just talking about how it's just unbelievable, and we can't help but think about those families affected, the people of the community, and especially those who were hurt or injured or, unfortunately passed. It's really painful to say, Artie.
Yeah, and I was listening today on the news, and they had a snippet of a pastor who was obviously praying for the families who were affected, and also prayed for the shooter, to kind of rid himself of the evil that took over him, to kind of commit this senseless crime. Really don't have any thoughts on it. From the hot topic. Ultimately, it's just a senseless tragedy. It hit close to home, even though my second home, I should say, because it's right down the street from Athens, and you see the football coach. It was a victim, and you just heavy hearts for sure. And it's an unfortunate reminder that some things and some people just can't explain it. But
Yeah.
we think of all the families affected. That's for sure.
Absolutely, and I'm really proud of the Georgia community and how we've kind of stepped
Mhm.
up in that standpoint too, right? There's nothing really you can do except kind of what we're doing as far as the thoughts and prayers and thoughts, and reaching out and helping. I saw as a lot of people on Twitter as well donating of funds in Barrow County to help those affected. So I really encourage that as well. But we will move on into some Georgia football here, and I'm going to bring on Arthie's former teammate, former Georgia Bulldog offensive tackle. He's blocked for a couple of legends there in the Georgia backfield, and that is none other than Kolton Houston, ladies and gentlemen.
How's it going, guys? Thank you for having me on here. I think before we get started, I haven't seen Artie in a library probably in all 4 years I ever went to school with him outside when he was trying to learn Sartor Resartus, and I don't think he ever mastered that one either. So it's always good to see somebody just trying to learn a little more.
Full disclosure, Colton never saw me in the Library of Georgia because he never went to the Library of Georgia. So
All right, we'll move on. We'll move on, JC.
Yeah. You guys, I'm sure, were the most studious people in the
100%.
Athens community. Absolutely, man. That's good. And hey, Colton, I think you were in college long enough to really get a few degrees,
Ah,
from what I read.
man, the blows keep coming. The blows keep coming. I was there. I have my doctorate and all things outside of education.
Oh,
Yep,
very good.
yep. I love it, man. But thanks for coming on, Colton. I think we've had you on before as well, so it's good to get you back on. Talk a little Georgia football. I know we talked about a little bit pre-show about what you thought from Clemson, so I want to get into that just a little. Started off your thoughts, starting on a dominant week there in a season opener. Me and already talked about it. We were kind of surprised on how dominant Georgia was. We talked about the preseason kind of jitters leading up to the game. It's a big moment, right? You're playing in the Benz against a formidable opponent, a team that has won a couple of pair of national titles there in the last 10 years. So putting yourself in that position going into the game, were you surprised on the execution level there? What do you think it means for Georgia's program here moving into the second week?
I think I'm most impressed every time I turn on the game is how fundamentally sound our team is. I mean, you look at all the other first games of the season, and you have a ton of like you're always going to have the offsides, you're always going to have the false starts, you're always going to have those just football penalties. But all across the board, you saw teams left and right committing senseless penalties that are just dumb and ignorant, and see teams not tackling or finish blocks. And it does it. I would watch this game, and it looks like we were in late season form, not making senseless mistakes, and it's just a very very sound team. I mean, they're fun to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Artie and I talked about that. There were some penalties here and there. And we expected that. But as far as execution wise, even in that first half, I mean, you can look at it that there wasn't great execution because of how, the kind of the sluggish start by the offense there. But my opinion, I'm of the opinion that really it was more of, the defense baiting Carson Beck into bad throws and bad decisions, and he didn't do it. He accepted that the defense there, and it is so powerful and really good at keeping teams out of that side of the field and really in the entire red zone. I think Clemson had 2 red zone attempts the entire game. So I was really impressed with that. Let's rewind it back a little bit to your time at Georgia and talk about that. You were in college for a long time. You're actually, I have it written in my notes here. Kolton Houston, NCAA conqueror, right? Planted that flag, baby. But you were in there for a long time with some really, really good Georgia running backs, right? And we kind of saw a little glimpse of some special talent there from Nate Frazier this past week, and he was getting all the comps to Todd
Mhm.
Gurley and Nick Chubb and Keith Marshall as well, friend of the shows. What are your thoughts there as a guy who kind of blocked for those guys, and what maybe they did at a special level that was really, really unique for them?
I think it's funny when people find out that I was fortunate enough to be able to play for 3 years, start for 3 years. They kind of, like that's a shock. That's a testament. But I'm like, look, I was terrible. Like I was no good. Like me and Artie are out here dying for our lives anytime we got a block next to each other. But I was like, I had 4. If it wasn't for an injury on Keith, I had 4 first round tailbacks behind me, and like truly, all 3 of those people changed the game. And a few weeks ago, somebody said they saw like the Clemson and Georgia game back in Athens in 2014. So Artie's first year he was out. And Nick Chubb didn't even see the field until like the last part of the third quarter. And I was like, I mean, so we were so loaded and we were so fortunate enough to have those guys make us look so much better on the offensive line. But their ability to see the field, their ability to just bounce off tackles, their wisdom of the game. I mean, truly, I think so. They're some of the best college backs that will ever play the game.
Yeah, Colton likes to be a little bit humble. I mean, he started 3 years because he was a player, right? Like, and
Yeah.
that's obviously you look at some of the offensive linemen that Kirby recruits now. It's like I don't even think they're human beings, right? Because they're so big. But it just in terms of like you don't start 3 years at UGA or really anywhere in the SEC by mistake, right? And the thing that separated Colton was his ability to like understand the game and how to use his body and his skill set to like gain leverage, right? In different unique situations because he wasn't the 6'8", 340-pound tackle, but he was smart enough, he was athletic enough, and ultimately he was dependable enough. Like, right, Coach Bobo would always say, like, if you want to be able to play, like you can depend on the dependable, right? And Colton was a dependable offensive lineman, right? You think about David Andrews had a lot of similar attributes. He was just a center, and you think about what he's been able to do in the next level because of his talent, but really it's his brain, right? Like offensive linemen, they always get a bad rap. They just get the big uglies. But in my opinion, outside the quarterback, they're the smartest guys in the field.
Yeah. And
You
Colton, that kind of
flatter
leads.
me. You flatter me. You flatter me. Thank you, sir.
You got it.
That's what UGA Football Live is known for, I believe, in the circles of
Flattery.
Georgia players. Absolutely. Colton, that kind of moves me to my second question here, talking about your career. And we talked with Artie a lot about it as well, and other guys who play with him. But it kind of ties into this year, right? And what Georgia has in its tool belt, which is the number one tool, is Carson Beck there, and a passer who can see the entire field as well as pre-snap, getting him to the right plays, making the right reads when you have the ball in your hands. And you had Aaron Murray there. You guys did rather. Can you talk about how that maybe elevates things offensively and really from a team dynamic? And from all things I've heard, is Carson is that leader as well, and I know Aaron definitely was. Just kind of
Yeah.
talk about that if you can.
Yeah, I want to rewind a conversation just real quick back to Clemson. I know we're on the clock here. I think a lot of people they don't realize how good that Clemson team is, and I
Mhm.
know there's a lot of talk and a lot of buzz that like the game is past Dabo, and Dabo's kind of left behind. Dabo finished the season last year with 10 wins. Like that's not a bad football team, and he had a ton of cats come back and the one thing about Clemson, yeah, they might not go to the transfer portal, but all of those guys are also super disciplined, super fundamental football team.
Mhm.
And so for Georgia to come in and execute the way they did, like I think that's says a tremendous, tremendous amount about where our football program's going.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, I wanted to get that out because you asked me that at the beginning. But what I love about Bobo, and I saw a coordinator come in after Bobo. Bobo allows his guys. I think what Bobo does so well is he creates an offense that is best for his guys. And to Artie's point, like we didn't have a big line when I was there, but we had great backs. And I know I had Hudson Mason too. Like after Aaron, Hudson Mason's not the most talented person in the world, but he was a fantastic quarterback. And Bobo just allows the players to do what they do best, and he knows how to call the plays there. But I think what stands out, there's not a lot of colleges coaches that allow quarterbacks to still have control of the offense.
Mhm.
And I know for like when Aaron and Hudson got up to the line of scrimmage, they were allowed to check a play, they were allowed to audible, they were allowed to change coverages, they were allowed to hot route. They had the full control of the offense once they got to the line of scrimmage, which now they can talk. So it's going to just
Mhm.
even be more amplified. So um, Carson Beck's obviously been around the program for a long time. Is it second or third year with Bobo? Third,
So
second.
yeah, yeah. So
Second.
Because
Bobo was
Bubba.
on staff as an analyst with Monken in his last year, and then Bobo took over the reins last year, and then this is his
yeah,
second year as OC.
so that familiarity and comfortableness with each other there, that trust is there, and I think that will help our offense. I think we'll see a lot more this year than what we got to see last year, just because hey, there's an extra year here now.
Mhm.
And Artie can testament to that too more because I'm just blocking. Artie's the one that's
Yeah.
dealing with
No, Cole,
quarterback there.
it's a great point. We talked about it last week, right? It's like Bobo, like you could just watch the the actions and the movement and the decisions like pre-snap. If you just kind of watch Carson and watch him communicate with the other 10 guys in the offense, and you could see him putting the chess pieces in the right place in order for them to make plays. And I think that is because Mike Bobo trusts him, right? And we've obviously seen quarterbacks that Coach Bobo does not trust, right? And he has to hold their hand. But when he starts giving them when Coach Bobo starts giving his quarterbacks more leash, right, more slack on that leash, it's because he trusts them and he knows that that quarterback is essentially a coach on the field. So couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. That's good stuff, guys. Let's move it on a little bit. We got hard out here at 7:30, folks. I'm gonna do a little Georgia news update here for you guys. So really the only thing to really touch on is because of the week one, right? Stays strong at the top of the AP and coaches poll for Georgia. Number one, getting more votes in the coaches poll, which is my favorite poll because media members vote Vanderbilt to win the conference each year. So there's that. Uh, top opponents: Texas, Bama, and Ole Miss will all face. They all moved up in the coaches poll to 3, 4, and 5. I mean, that's just those teams alone is a heck of a schedule. But you also have Tennessee moved to number 12. Clemson dropped all the way to number 22. And I fully expect Georgia Tech to be ranked when we play them.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think they take care of business against Syracuse this week. That's a little off topic, but they're playing Syracuse. They're only a 2.5-point favorite. I think they win handedly, in my opinion. Some injury updates for you guys as well. Micah Williams, ankle sprain. We're going to count him as doubtful. And this is UJ Football Live's terms here. Roderick Robinson, toe. He's going to be doubtful. Warren Brinson, foot, ankle contusion. Questionable here. Jonella Aguero missed last week with a hammy. He could have went in case of emergency per Kirby. We're going to list him as questionable. Trevor Etienne had that suspension. We're not sure if it's 1 week or more, right? High probability that he plays this week. Wouldn't be surprised if he sits again. But I think, guys, what we should do is kind of talk about this game against Tennessee Tech from, an FCS opponent, viewpoint, right? Like what, you're going to win the game. You're probably going to win handedly. What was your guys' mindset? Maybe what Mark Richt, what did he bestow on you guys going into games like this, where it's pretty much a scrimmage and everybody knows it? Do they want to admit it? No, probably not, especially Kirby. Um, but what kind of is bestowed on you guys going into those matchups, which you definitely had as a team mindset as well as your personal goals? I mean, what all played into that instead of going to play like a Bama or an Auburn, right? That's a big difference.
I'll let you take it, Colin.
I mean, I'm not gonna anybody that would tell you there's not a difference is lying.
Mhm.
But we're not professionals. I mean, they might be professionals now, but like we still have our job to do, and
Mhm.
you still treated it as that you had a job to do. Now the pressure wasn't there, and Will Friend, he was my offensive line coach after Stacy left, but he used to always say like these teams that come into the stadium, they have a perception of how the game's going to go before they get there, and they make their determination through that first series. Hey, were
Mhm.
they accurate? Meaning, like, do they think they're about to get rolled? And if that's the case, you're going to take care of business. It's going to be an easy game. But if you don't come out and you don't start fast and you kind of stutter along your way to get started, their perceptions just change and they're like, oh crap, we can play with these boys.
Right.
And then the whole game is completely different. So it's truly
Mhm.
one of those like you have to start fast, you have to execute, and everything kind of takes care of it from that point.
Yeah, we never lost one of those games, but there was times where we came out with the right mindset and it was like it was over within the first like play, right? Like it was just like we're playing like a high school team. And then there were some games where I think maybe like North Texas or maybe like
Mhm.
New Mexico or
Pouring
something where
rain.
pouring rain. Yeah, where we ended up winning about 40-10 or 40-18, but it was like that
Started
first
slow.
half, we start slow, and you're just like, God damn, I just, you know what I mean? Because really, coaches are like, we just want to get out of this with a win and no injuries, right? And they know the win is going to come, but it's like it can get dicey there. I would say a majority of the time we would handle business, but there were some games, and it happened, and you've seen it with Georgia too. Like if you just let a team get a little bit of hope, it can get ugly. But I think they'll be fine this weekend. Kirby is a bit of a sociopath, so I think he'll be good to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder what he's, like, cooking up
So
just to
that's
get
what I
these
tell
guys
him.
going. Yeah. Like,
There's
"Hey,
no
let's do
telling.
steak dinner versus beanie weenies. The higher you grade, you get steak."
Yeah.
He's out of
Um
his mind.
But you mentioned North Texas. Quick trivia for you guys off the top of my head. I hope I'm getting this right. I think I am though. North Texas, the longest touchdown pass in Georgia history went to which receiver?
Reggie Davis.
Okay, good for you. I'll send you a plaque. I'll send you a plaque, Artie. That was
That
quick.
was good.
That was good.
Colin, I'll never see that plaque, just so you know.
That was
Heck no.
good.
I'll see what
Yeah.
Dollar General has. But I kind
Reggie
of did it.
Reggie could move now. He
Oh
just
yeah.
muffed
It
a
was
bunch of
quick.
punts. He just muffed a bunch of punts. But I dropped a
Yep.
bunch of passes, so who am I to talk?
I don't know about that, brother. Yeah, Reggie can move. That's why he got a little cup of coffee in the NFL too. Speed.
Oh, yeah.
But I kind of wanted to approach it from this way too, and we're moving on here. What should dog fans want to see from UGA this week? Here are my thoughts on it. Cohesiveness with the offensive front, right? You're still working a new group, right? Jared Wilson's still in there at center. It's his first year as a starter. Looked good last week, of course, in the second half, especially, right? Early, I think you saw that to build in the second half and them starting to wear on that Clemson front, which is a really good front. Um, Continue to see that, right? Let these guys get some more snaps in together. Trevor Etienne, if he does get to play, let's see him get his feet wet, right? We're going to need him down the stretch, especially if you're thinking as a Georgia fan for which I know you all are, college football playoff and national championship. And Branson Robinson coming off the big knee injury last week, right? Get him in there, get him some more reps as well. Continue to build confidence. I keep finding myself say those words every season at the beginning, the first 5-6 weeks here. Cohesiveness, experience, confidence, right, in yourself, so then you can ultimately help your team. And then execution from Beck, we just talked about that with the new weapons for me, though, especially here. When the transfer receivers in Colby Young, London Humphreys, Ben Urasek, the true freshman as well, who signed in the 24 class. Get these guys in at least in a position to where they get to play on first and second and third downs instead of like we see Colby Young on third downs making big catches, London Humphreys, and then red zone, which Colby Young, he's like 6'5", tight end body. He's going to be used a lot down there, but can we play him on first and second downs and really trust him to be in the right spots? And then, already talked about this a little bit last week as well, is getting these freshmen and even transfers at that point who are going to be role players this season, who may need to step up when injuries happen, which they always do, right? Get these guys in and let them make some plays, right? And I think from that standpoint, even looking, putting yourself in their shoes, proving yourself ahead of the SEC opener versus Kentucky, right? So you can get some snaps in that game, and you can give some confidence to your coaches in putting you into those positions, especially on defense. And Georgia loves to rotate there, right? They just need to see you to do it in practice. Is what Kirby Smart preaches. We hear it every week. But those are my takes on that, guys. Anything that you think that UGA fans quickly should want to see, right, and should be happy with here, and probably a big win?
What you got, Colin?
Well, this is you. You threw me on the spot last time.
I just think you're looking for consistency, man. Like, honestly, right? We talked about this last week, JC. You talk about depth, right? I think one of the things that hurt our team in 2013 is we had a lack of depth, right? And when you have a lack of depth at some positions, not all positions, it's like you lose one guy, you can start hurting pretty good. And I think, fortunately for Georgia, by the way that they recruit, it's not that they don't have a plethora of talent. It's just there's a youthfulness and inexperience. And I think what we talked about last week, when you end up when you're pulling away in a game like Clemson, which you may have not thought that you would, there's a lot of guys who did not have that in-game experience that all of a sudden have that game experience in a big-time game, nationally televised game. And then now you move into a game like Tennessee Tech, where they probably thought that they were going to play already. Now they've probably preparing it a little bit more. Their confidence is up. And this is where you start building the depth in real time. So I think consistency and just watching the young guys, like, hopefully take advantage of opportunities, because you only get so many of these each year. And I think this is a big opportunity for those young guys to continue to build on what they had last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, similar to what I already said, I think the key to these games is like you want to see simple, stupid, and you want to see people do the little things the right way and get in and execute. These historically aren't flashy games. You're not usually bringing out the full gambit of an offense or the full gambit of a defense. It's like, hey, let's play smart. Let's just try to get in and do our jobs. I think one thing from just like a player's like perspective is whenever you can make that transition to, okay, now the backups are in. Like I would like if the fans are still full or still energized at that moment when those players are getting, finally touch the grass and getting some quality reps. Like I think that's huge. I think it creates another excitement there in the stadium. But yeah, I mean, you kind of see where your roster's at. You see, you can, hey, this person could step up and he could be a legit one. He could be a legit rotator, or like, hey, this person, like, we might be in trouble if we have to rely on this person. And I don't think the current roster has to worry about that until they get to about probably the third or fourth string. But yeah,
That's a great point. That's a great point. And I had this thought earlier as well, and it was just paired perfectly with yours. Was like, if I'm a Georgia fan, they're like, oh man, we're playing Tennessee Tech this week. We don't have a Clemson. We don't have a big time SEC matchup. Those are down the road and they're huge. I was thinking to myself, putting myself in that shoe. If I walk away from that stadium with a guy I didn't know much about or really didn't even know his name because of all the
Mhm.
number of players and really good players Georgia has, then it's a good day. If I could
Yeah.
walk and I remember his name for a good reason here, it's a good day. I think that's how they should approach the game. I love it, guys. Let's get to our predictions here. And then I've got a little Georgia record question for Colton here. We're going to end it up with that.
Oh gosh.
So we're going to do our predictions, but I got some background to give you guys here a little bit. All right. Tennessee Tech, they're getting 500K to come, which is kind of low, to be
It's
honest with you.
light.
I mean, we're talking millions here on the regular, but they're getting 500K. I don't know. First year under head coach Bobby Wilder. Now, lost to Middle Tennessee State last week. They allowed a game winner to lose it with 16 seconds remaining. They were heavy underdogs in that game, right? So they got some poise to them. Haven't scored a point though against Georgia in the two times they've played, 67-0 and 38-0. I think it was 19 43, and 2009. All right. And Georgia, here's the thing I'm basing this off for the most part. Last 3 FCS opponents: Tennessee Martin, 2023, 48-7. Samford, 2022, 33-0. Charleston Southern, 2021, 56-7. Now, this speaks to, if we're basing on this 3-game sample, which is really the string of Georgia's dominance starting in 21. Georgia's not going to run up the score, and there's a high chance that they probably score, maybe in garbage time, what have you, field goals, whatever. All right. So the line here, and this is the most lopsided Georgia line in program history, minus 53.5. Total 62.5. All right. Now, give you mine real quick. I think Georgia wins handedly, but they don't cover, and the under hits, but it's close. That's what I'm going with. I think it's like a 52-3 game.
That's such a big spread.
It's incredible, dude. We didn't have a spread until like this morning. So
yeah, I'm with you. I mean, yeah, that's a lot of points.
Unless you're Kiffin, I mean, offense is usually kind of laid off the gas.
Yeah.
In these games, I always like 48-52 is usually a pretty safe score for the home team. And I'm with you. I think there's always one drive where the defense might just kind of get out of whack, where they get down and either can kick a field goal, score a touchdown. So like,
42-7 is my prediction.
42-7.
Yeah, 42-7. Because Bobo is like, they just, like I said, they don't want. There's so many big games on the horizon. It's like they don't want the starting center to get rolled up on and like break his ankle. You know what I mean? Or Frazier to like get concussed, or just, it's like, it's football. Anything can happen. You know what I mean? It's like, so I think they go up big first half, and then 2s and 3s probably score, some garbage time TDs. I think 42-7 is the final score. 54 points is insane, but who knows?
yeah.
I would take the under and go 48-6.
All right.
Yeah.
It's crazy that's the under, but
we're all I know. We're all agreeing on this, which is cool. Which means nothing that can not go wrong ever. I love it, guys. I love it. Kolton, quick question for you. Georgia plays, and we already talked about them, all on the road. Texas, Bama, Ole Miss. They got Tennessee. They got Tech. They got a scrappy Auburn team who's going to be improved this year. Do you think they go undefeated? That's the biggest question.
I think it's virtually impossible for a team to go undefeated now.
yeah, I agree.
We all know home field advantage. We all talk about it. I don't mean any disrespect. I don't think a fan truly understands how bad home field advantage can get for an away team.
Oh my
God. And previously all the SEC primetime games are 3:30. Now they're at 7:30 or 8 o'clock.
Or 4, apparently.
And you're going to go into Tuscaloosa. You're going to go Oxford. You're going to go Austin. They're going to be a night game. They're going to be a top 5 matchup. And truly, I tell people all this time, it was Artie and I's 2013. We were up in Tennessee. Might have been 2014.
No, it was 13.
And we were backed up on like the 1-yard line. And we had to go get like a 2-minute drill. And no, we were in overtime. It was so loud in that stadium. It was deathly quiet. And you couldn't hear. And that's how these games are going to be now that they're hosting top 5 matchups, number 1 team in the country coming into town. Like I even think the best teams, like if Georgia is head and shoulders above all these other teams, and that's yet to be determined, like that's just hard to do. Now I'm not going to be surprised if they do it, but I think the new reality in the SEC is going to be either a 1 or 2 loss season.
Yeah, and I think depending on your strength of schedule, that's going to show how many games you can lose and still get in.
Yeah.
Right? Because Georgia's in a place to where if they lose those 3 games, there's a big chance they're still going to be in the top 12. Right? Because
they're
of
going to
how
make the
high they
playoff.
rank. Yeah,
They're gonna
right.
they're gonna make the playoff, but I agree
Yeah.
with Colton. And you throw in those 2 wild cards, which are not now wild cards, they're members of the SEC. It's like Oklahoma, like I know everyone made a big deal out of it just because from like a media perspective, but I don't think we've actually made a big enough deal about like those 2 teams entering the SEC, like how good and deep this league really is. Like
Yeah.
it's insane. You know what I mean? And it's going to get to a point where a lot of these FCS teams, particularly as these TV deals get bigger and bigger, no one wants to see Tennessee Tech and Georgia. They want to see 12 games, all real SEC games with a in a Clemson or something or primetime game. So I think ultimately, and JC, we've talked about this. The SEC is going to become more and more like in the NFL in the years to come, right? They'll probably end up with like 13 games, and it's going to be like a dogfight week in and week out. And I don't know what it looks like in 20 years, but I think in the next 5 years, you're going to see these Tennessee Tech games fall off the schedule, and you're going to see like a Penn State fill this slot. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And then you're gonna and if you get out of the season with 3 wins, you're probably a top 5 team. Three losses, because that's going to be the strength of the schedule. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I just want to even ask about making the playoff for Georgia is more just are they going to go undefeated, because that seems like a foregone conclusion. But guys, if you're looking for JC versus Artie in the Pick'em spread, we'll do those on Twitter Spaces on Saturday. I think we should move that there. Colton has dad duty to get to. Artie's got to get to. What'd you say you're doing tonight? You're going to Dave and Buster's. I forgot Dave and
Dave and
Buster's
Buster's.
with your
Hey,
professors.
I'll say this to my guy Colin, right? There are a few people that you meet in your life who's like of an exceptional character, right? And you think about the friends you can make throughout your life, right? And then when you watch them get older, you watch them get married, you watch them have kids. It's like there's just some things that bring you peace because you know that they're about to have such a big moment in their life, right? He's about to be a dad any minute now. And you think about all the stuff we opened up the show, obviously sad news, but you think about all the good that can come into the world on a daily basis. And this kid that we haven't met yet hit the lottery in the dad and mom department. And as just a friend who's sitting up north, trying to learn how to read for the first time, I just I could not be happier for my guy Colton, because there are a few people who are better human beings than he is. So he's gonna be a good one. Love you, brother.
I appreciate that, Artie. I love you, my
Of
friend.
course, man.
That's no better way to end it. No better way to end it, guys. Georgia, Tennessee Tech, home opener in Sanford Stadium with some more seats this year. Capacity's up a little bit. 2 p.m. kick. Should be a beautiful day in Athens. Everyone who goes, make sure to bark at everybody, I guess. I don't know if that's what we say. But we'll be back We'll be back on Saturday. We'll do a Twitter Spaces on UJ Football Live before the game. And we'll share our picks there for the week for Saturday's matchups. And then we'll also go live after the game for some instant post-game reactions, whether you're watching live on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, or listening wherever you get your podcast. We appreciate your time and choosing it to spend it with us. We really appreciate it. Until next time, guys.
Appreciate you guys.
Go Dogs.